Hey guys, it's Dr. Julie. I hope you're all doing amazing today. I wanted to hop on real quick. I was talking to someone the other day and they said to me, I know this is going to sound crazy, but when I did keto, I gained 10 pounds and my blood sugar was actually worse than it was before. Now, I, of course, said to her, no, that doesn't sound crazy. I've seen that a lot. But she hadn't encountered anyone else who could have that same conversation with her. So I thought we should have a little discussion about blood sugar because there's a real misunderstanding out there that blood sugar management is all about your carb intake. And although it's partially about your carb intake, it's not the sole sort of instigating factor. Your blood sugar doesn't just go up because you ate too much sugar or you ate too many carbs. I have seen people have blood sugar issues without consuming virtually any carbs, certainly no sugar, no fruit. And so I thought, I don't think people know this because I think in the world, especially like when I've had patients, unfortunately, go to diabetic education classes, I've been just astonished at the information being passed to them because it's so horrifically awful that I wonder, well, how do people ever not have problems with their diabetes if this is what's being taught? So the truth is that we have a problem with diabetes in this country partially because of our carb intake. But I will tell you that the Chinese have higher carb intakes than we do, and they don't have as much diabetes. And that's true of a lot of cultures that still have, food traditions. So what is it then? Well, it's partially the quality of the food. So the food supply here sucks. I mean, it's the most honest and truthful way to talk about that. And I'm sorry for being so blunt, but the reality is that we have a food supply that's not meant for human consumption. We consume far too many things that were pre-made. Now you may think, but that shouldn't matter, but it does because pre-made foods are filled with chemical components used to help stabilize them. Now that causes inflammation. And so it's not maybe necessarily about the fact that those Doritos have somewhere in their corn, although I'm not quite sure where, but it's the other components, it's the colors and the dyes and the chemical, flavor enhancers and the high sodium content. Those are more detrimental and causing more inflammation, and that inflammation then can lead to stress in the cell systems and in the organs, and that can contribute to blood sugar issues. So the same thing can be said about consuming lots and lots of vegetable oils. It's another big factor, another big trigger. Hi, Catherine. If you consume canola, if you consume soy oil, if you're consuming large amounts of quote unquote vegetable oil, you're consuming toxic sludge. It's not meant for human consumption and it creates inflammation. And inflammation, one of its downstream effects can be blood sugar issues. So as you can see, there's like this perpetuating feature. Now, I think many of the studies can rely on their data saying, oh no, it's a blood sugar issue related to carbohydrate consumption because they're looking at people consuming foods that are traditionally deemed to be nutritionally appropriate. And I will tell you that in most of the, even in naturopathic circles, unfortunately, I have seen people advocate for the use of canola oil as an appropriate food substance. It's not food. It wasn't meant for human consumption. So what we have is we have this big disparity where we're being told that certain things are in fact health foods when they're so far from it that it's not even funny. So there's that side of it. Now, the other side of it is that blood sugar strongly relates to our stress. And so the more stressed and out of alignment we are, the more trouble our body's going to have controlling blood sugar. Now, there's a little caveat here because a lot of people hear stress and they go, oh, okay, so I just need to meditate more. I need to do more of my yoga. And those things may be true, but I'm going to be the one to tell you that that probably isn't enough. I have seen so many people who have those activities preeminently in their life and they still end up showing patterns of long-term chronic nervous system hyperstimulation. And I see it so many times that what I know to be true is this. We're living in an age of hyperstimulation. And if you're a person that cares about the world, the odds are it's a little bit higher for you, because you're looking around and you're seeing disarray everywhere, and you're trying to find ways to participate and provide good solutions. And in the process, you're upping your ante because you're trying to be present in your life, but also be a good person and take part in the bigger solutions. And you're investing your heart and your mind and your emotions in what's happening around you. The consequence of that, it wears you down. So what we need to do is that we have to deal with the patterns. So everybody expresses stress in different patterns, and blood sugar dysregulation has to do with how well your cells can use energy. So the more slowed down your system gets, because it's trying to constantly fight a battle, the more ineffective it gets at using energy. So we have to fix that. And we also have to repair communication between the hormonal systems. That's another big reason for blood sugar dysregulation, because the thyroid system, and that's not just the thyroid, it is the thyroid plus all the cells that have receptors for thyroid. So that's a big difference. When conventional medicine tests, they're just looking at thyroid. In fact, when functional medicine tests, they're just looking at thyroid. They're not looking at how the cells are responding. We also have to pay attention to how the adrenal system is responding. Now, again, big difference. When conventional medicine and even when like functional medicine tests the adrenals, they're just looking at the adrenals. They're not looking at cellular response to the messages sent out from the adrenals. But these two systems are also highly involved in blood sugar regulation. So if they are fatigued and or hyperstimulated and or running on fumes, you're going to have trouble regulating blood sugar. And that's if you don't eat any carbs. And this is sort of my point. There's been such, so many people are trying so hard to solve their health problems on their own. And I watch people go out into that world of diet and say, well, it looks like all the, extremely low carb people are advocating that this is the route to cure your diabetes. It's going to solve it all. And then they discover that it's not doing that. They're still having symptoms of blood sugar. So achy joints, they're still having issues with their tissues not functioning correctly, digestive symptoms, waking up at night, feeling frustrated and angry too often, craving sweet things, which often then people mitigate with like stevia-based products, but you're still craving something sweet, so there's still a message in that. Foggy thinking, headaches, these are some common symptoms, but sometimes, guys, there's no symptoms at all. That's the wicked thing about blood sugar, is that it doesn't always show up with some glaringly obvious sign that that's your problem. But what I know to be true is that when I look for those patterns in people, what I find so often is that there are huge blood sugar issues that have gone unnoticed for years. And part of that is because the stupid, parameters in medicine have become so out of whack that an A1C is now, the numbers are so high. They've inflated what's acceptable. And so people are being told, oh no, you're fine. I'll tell you that if I'm gonna look at an A1C, which I don't do all the time, but if I were to look at one, I want it below 5.2 at minimum. I've never even seen one below 5.2 in most people. They're up at 5.7, 5.8, 6.2. So I just want to express that the numbers are being skewed by the pervasive non-adherence to trying to get people healthy that's so common in the medical system. So back to blood sugar. So if you are concerned about blood sugar, and I'm just going to tell you, we all should be concerned about blood sugar, because again, even if you're eating a low carb diet, it's the effect of stress that is likely driving your sugar up. And long-term, even moderately elevated blood sugar due to chronic stress is guaranteed to cause disruption in your organ systems. It's guaranteed to affect your long-term memory and cognitive ability. In fact, there are some people calling Alzheimer's simply diabetes of the brain. So you got to think about that there are a multitude of ways that this presents that are not going to be classic. The other thing that you need to think about is that type 2 diabetes, a diagnosis of borderline and or type 2, it's a call to action. It is not a call to take metformin. Just FYI, it's not. That's not an adequate remedy. Yes, it sometimes lowers blood sugar. Even now they're using it just simply as a weight loss tool, which truly drives me insane, because we're not accomplishing a solution to the actual problem. We're just pushing on the body so we make labs look better. But in reality, the same inflammation that propagated the problem in the first place is still there. So what I want you to understand is that if you're finding that you're starting to wake up and you're going, okay, so I need to be concerned about blood sugar, even if it hasn't yet been told to me that it's a problem, the first thing you need to do is recognize that on your own, this is kind of hard to solve. That's a simple truth, because turning off the stress response is not as easy as just meditating and doing yoga. I will tell you, in my own family, I have the most amazing parents on the planet. I grew up in a house where they got up early to meditate and exercise before they went to work. They have been people who have done, stretching and yoga and meditation and prayer since before I was born. It's just who they are. And in retirement, they have continued those practices, going to yoga like 3 times a week, gentle walks outside, meditation. But even still, because my mom is such a person who cares so deeply about the world. She's a social worker, she's a trauma specialist, she's been a minister, and she found herself exhibiting patterns of elevated chronic stress because she cares so much. And she was living in that place of service and attentiveness to what people's needs really were. And we still had to do work to turn off her stress response by working off her patterns. And she was exhibiting, honestly, some of the best behaviors in terms of that anyone I've ever worked with ever could have happened. In addition to that, because I do acupuncture, she gets acupuncture and massage and all these beautiful things. So she's a great example of the fact that in this modern world, the rules of the game have changed. Unfortunately, it's not enough to just take a little break or incorporate some quiet time into your life. It doesn't work the same because our systems are actually being hardwired to be so chronically on that they don't know how to turn off. And that is the reason for blood sugar dysregulation. That's the reason for so many people exhibiting signs of type 2 diabetes. So that's where the effort has to be put, is getting the body to turn off the stress response and actually healing the systems that are responsible for that stress response and helping the cells become better at using energy. Because without that, you're going to put in the perfect food and your poor cells are sitting there like, I want to participate so badly, but I'm so tired I can't even play the game right. How sad is that our efforts are going wasted because the poor cells need restoration? That's what's happening. And that's the true of our organ systems too. So it's not, you're not failing at this. It's just that no one's ever taught you. No one's ever given you the information to allow you to succeed. So if your doctors are saying, look, your blood sugar is an issue, you're borderline type 2, or you are type 2, that's a call to action. First of all, be grateful for it. Heck yeah, I actually get to take action. I actually get to solve the problem. I get to secure my future health because I get to act on what this really is, which is a bigger problem. But that's great, because that bigger problem, when it gets solved, solves all the other little ones, like the inflammation that causes cancer, like the inflammation that causes Alzheimer's, like the inflammation that causes organ stress and liver decline and kidney decline. Those are all tied in. So it's actually a beautiful call to action. So that's my talk on blood sugar. It definitely went all over the place, but I really want you guys to start to be able to advocate for what's real in healing, and to understand that your body is, oh guys, your body's magical. It's this 3D dynamic structure, and you cannot pull on just one piece and have all the other pieces not respond. It is so much more dynamic than that. So we need to think in terms of those things, because that's where our key to longevity lies. This old system, it's gonna crumble, because you can't just look at one organ system and think that you've solved the whole problem. And that's true for diet and everything. So we need to capture that, because there's power and wisdom in reconnecting to the body this way. There is so much dynamic power and wisdom that you then can tap into all kinds of things you've always wanted in life. But sometimes it starts with deciding to heal your blood sugar. Sometimes that's the impetus, and that's a beautiful impetus as well. So I wish you all just a beautiful, wonderful day, and I want you to know that it's capable to heal at all points in our life, and it's never too late, and we can always accomplish change. We just have to believe in that truly unique, complex nature of our body and go, I'm ready to honor it at every level. All right? Well, you guys have a beautiful day. Many blessings.